That process to me is almost part of building a restaurant.
Definitely.
And if that's going to be done with a click of a button over 3 days, like, doesn't a part of you die?
I think for something like what we're doing, where you're trying to build scale and speed and convenience are important, that we have to embrace.
In the middle of all of this, the change, co-founder, scaling, and all of a sudden you get this new thing coming up, which is not so new, but all of a sudden looked new about 18 months ago, called AI, that now no one cannot not talk about. And every single business, most definitely tech and non-tech also, had to start being like, oh my God, what is that going to do to my business?
Yeah.
So what's that going to do to your business? And how do you think about that?
It's going to change my business a lot. Design, I think, is one of the industries that's going to be changed.
Yeah.
It's changing everybody, طبعا. And I think in many ways, making everybody a lot more productive. I don't know about you, but today I like open ChatGPT, Claude, like all of them, and just check, and you're like, how did they know all of this? You know.
So, and by the way, Chirag, you didn't come out very well. I'm just kidding. She was telling me she ChatGPT'd all our podcasts.
I did ChatGPT.
Apparently, ChatGPT hasn't fully figured out the life of conversations yet.
No, but they gave me a little bit about you, but they did. Yeah. Your last 10 episodes came out, but still, you're still not.
Well, that's why I do some of them in Arabic to trick ChatGPT.
Yeah. So I think one thing, it's going to make people a lot more productive. So everybody, content, all of these people need to be using. إحنا in Egypt, برضو, we're slightly behind. The thing about us is we live in 3 different worlds, I think. For me, I live in Dubai, where I think people are a bit more advanced. And then I'm always listening to podcasts in the US where I feel that...
You're like, oh my God.
There's not a podcast that doesn't cover... that's not talking about AI. And they've converted. Like but I think it's moving so fast that if you're not using it, you're in trouble.
Give me specific user cases in your business. Because, I mean, obviously the clear user case to me is I can go to Perplexity and be like, give me a mood board for blah, 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 and blah. And they'll be able to generate it. So that's work that you're doing now. But again, will they get the taste right? Will they get the human emotion? They do?
They're going to get everything right, in my view.
So let's go to the Bahamas.
No, so what they still haven't, there's a few things they still haven't done, but what they do is, you have a lot of tools right now that can create a 3D render or mood board. You have to prompt it, and you have to get better at it. So if you're already on board and using it, you're going to know what's coming next, and you're going to be the designer that's using AI to do 10 designs in an hour instead of 1 in a week. Do you know what I mean? So you're going to be much more productive. But you have to prompt it.
Yes.
That human is there. Yes, they do them. They're very good now at inspiration. The first step in design.
But it almost feels like that's a net plus for your business, right? Because you can churn out more of those mood boards. But at the end of the day, if I want this, I still have to go through you.
You don't know who's at that part. They still, in our part of the world. In other parts, they've actually gotten there. But you can't. You see the mood board, and then تجيب items دي. بالضبط. No, there's no AI that's helping with that. You have it in the States.
You do?
Yeah, you put the picture, it puts you the thing, and it tells you exactly where to get like this table from like 10 different shops.
Wow.
Right? Yes, but you're right. It makes the designer much more productive, right?
Yeah.
If she decides to use it. That's the big if.
You have to now go to your team and like indoctrinate this.
Yeah, I mean, first you try to tell people, please use it, and then please use it. And then I think at one point you have to say you have to use it. I think this is what companies that want to ride this wave, they need to do. And I think it's affecting that. It's affecting in software engineering as a whole. Like I heard Bardo, another podcast that said 90% of code is going to be written by AI.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Software
engineers. Like that's like the... You know what I mean? The top
all these
of
guys
that, that's like what you're teaching your kids.
$500,000 sitting at Google and they're gone, basically, within 2-3 years.
They're gone, or they're using them and they're growing exponentially because they're able to do a lot more. But the ones who are using the software, the AI, are growing faster.
Yeah, but you don't need 200 of them anymore. No. And whatever, Facebook had 1,000 of them. They might need 20. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you see this generally as a threat or as an opportunity or a bit of both?
It's a bit of both.
Yeah.
I think it's a big opportunity if you embrace it quickly. I think because then you're one of those people, right, who is able to move fast and create a lot more with less.
But can I just be devil's advocate for a second, just for the fun of it? The fact that you're using it, Yani, for you to use it or for your team to use it to, let's call it again, generate more mood boosts, that makes a lot of sense. But I am not sure today that your average consumer, Yani, if I go to my mother's friend, right?
Not your mother's friend.
Okay, but
your son's friend.
My son, my son is not buying anything of value. Sorry, Abudi, anytime soon.
Yeah.
So my point being is, I'm also one, because I listen to the same podcast you do in the US. I do see the user case, but I'm just not sure it's that fast, or it's being enmeshed in people's lives so quickly as people might think.
Yeah.
And what I'm using it for now is honestly the question I used to ask Google. But now I get, instead of a blue link, I get an answer.
Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily using it yet for buy me a ticket to Philadelphia and book the hotel, and some chat bot comes and does all of that and gives me the... not.
But you can. I agree with you, Bus, and I think Yani, definitely our generation and maybe a bit younger than us aren't. Do you know what I mean? But the truth is, it's coming.
Yeah.
And it's not Aboud, it's my son. And I have people in my company who are that age group that for them, it's not a threat.
Yeah.
Bil'aks, it's an opportunity. It's what's going to be the problem, Hesham, is the types of business command that's going to start. That's going to be your competition. Yeah, أنا ما بخافش من an e-commerce player or another retailer. But if a business is built purely on AI today, that's where the threat comes in, because you haven't taken the time or like prioritized embedding it into your business. I don't know about food, I don't know, but I think definitely with food, it's a very experiential,
So in many ways it's design, right? So I mean, I'm just thinking loud here. I'm sure I can be build this room with Hashim's taste. Let's just put it this way. And you get something close. But I still feel a lot of it is I'm in this room now and I'm no.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is the designer becomes an editor.
Yes.
And that's, build this room with Hashim's taste. The first draft you're going to get from an AI is going to save you 3 days.
مظبوط.
Minimum. How many more? So you have to just decide, where does the designer put her touch and where do you use AI so that you're massively more productive?
صح.
Definitely the empathy. Yeah. And we know a lot about our customers. Our customers, they have to tell you everything about their decision-making. That's very important to stay with a human, in my opinion. hand-holding ده. But the inspiration and a lot of the process is going to be AI.
Does that take out, I'm generally very pro-technology, so don't get me wrong, but out a little bit of the soul? I mean, isn't part of the fun, part of my better conversations, let's put it this way, are with my designer when I'm thinking about a new restaurant, right? And I get excited and we kind of, send things to each other and back and forth. And then it kind of slowly comes together.
Yeah.
And then we add the finishing touches and, that process to me is almost part of building a restaurant.
Definitely.
And if that's going to be done with a click of a button over 3 days, doesn't a part of you die?
But I think design is a huge industry.
Yeah.
And you have the very high-end, very personal one. And that's probably going to, in my view, be later to have to adapt, because it's like you're saying, you go to a designer because you want that designer. Do you know what I mean? And those conversations, that personal thing is core to the product. I think for something like what we're doing, where you're trying to build scale and speed and convenience are important, that we have to embrace it. But you still have the designer.
Yeah.
But maybe, and each designer becomes a lot more productive, and you're not going to have to grow by you don't have to triple your designers. You can double your designers and still, grow much faster than that.